Yeah.
So,
All right, here we go. This will take us to the home stretch. Team Up North football drama. Where do we even begin? I mean,
this,
the tagline of the show is guys talking OSU football and hating on that team up north. So that's
yeah,
what we're going to do here for the next 26 minutes or so of the remainder of this show. We're going to hate on this program. Now, before we get into anything else, they've beaten us 2 years in a row.
they
Those are
have.
facts. Those are
Yep,
facts.
can't
Right
deny it.
now, they're the program that's on top of the mountain. For the first time in a long time, we're gunning for them as opposed to vice versa. And so let's just throw that out there first before we get in there. It looks like we're a bunch of sour grape Buckeye fans here. We understand they have beaten us 2 years in a row. That being said, what the heck is going on up there? I don't even know. Where do
But
you want to start? Because I guess let's start with Jimmy and his constant love affair flirtation with the NFL. Chris, what's he doing?
well, first of all, Eric, the Michigan program right now is a mangled cat in the hot sun, 3 days old. Let me tell you, it is a complete mess. Uh, as far as Harbaugh goes, I think first of all, I think he thrives on this drama. I think he loves this drama. I think he loves the attention. Um, I think his desire is to be back in the NFL. I think that's what he wants. But at the same time, and Aaron has said this before, and I think you've even said this, Eric. The NFL just doesn't want him. I just don't think the NFL wants him. He's a great name to bring in to leverage other candidates. But you know what? I don't think that anybody is seriously going to take him seriously as a serious coaching candidate unless he goes out and wins a national title. Because his career has been, no matter where it's been, he's about almost being the best. He is not, he's not shown himself to be the best yet, but he's really good at almost being the best. Um, so I truly feel that Jim Harbaugh is using the NFL to leverage Michigan, and the NFL is using Jim Harbaugh to leverage other coaches, maybe force them into a decision quicker. But I don't think either one. I don't know if I should say neither one wants the other. I think Harbaugh wants the NFL. The NFL doesn't want Harbaugh right now.
So I believe very much so that Jim Harbaugh is in love with two different women. And I don't that's the analogy I'm going to use here.
Yeah,
Not talking about his marriage. I think he does really love his alma mater.
he does. I truly
But I
believe that.
also think that he loves the idea of getting back there and winning that Super Bowl. I think Jim Harbaugh, though for all his quirkiness and weirdness and recruiting sleepovers, he is a very competitive person. And it's got to be difficult sitting around the kitchen table at Thanksgiving
Yeah.
in the Harbaugh household knowing that little brother's got a Super Bowl ring and he did so against you.
Well, and Monk mentioned it right there, man. He mentioned in his last comment, he's not even the best Harbaugh. You know, I mentioned that he's not the, he hasn't proved himself to be the best. He's always the next best guy or the second best guy. He's not even the best Harbaugh. And I'll tell you what, if you go as far as coaching goes, you might even put him at third best because his old man was a hell of a high school coach.
uh, so this is another good point here. Larry Daniels brings it up. It says it looks like the NFL is looking for youth and head coaches. I agree, by the way. A lot of the new, younger, hot head coaches in the NFL are those young offensive coordinators, if you've been
Yes.
paying attention. He says, I agree with Chris. They use Harbaugh as a pawn or so they can say we interviewed X number of candidates. But here's the thing. I don't know that he is really even if he really even technically interviewed. I feel like he went out and tried to say, I'm available. Are you interested? And they said, yeah, we're kind of interested. You've had a couple successful years now. Then they meet the guy, and he's so weird that they're kind of weirded out by it all. And they're
Yeah,
like, and now you've got this issue hanging over his head, which we're going to get into in a minute as well. So my question is this: was this the final flirtation for Jim Harbaugh with the NFL, or are we going to see this again?
we're going to see it again until he ends up back in the NFL, Eric. Either that or until the NFL coaches just come, our owners just come out and say, we have no interest in Jim Harbaugh. Until they come out and say that, he is going to go back every year. He's going to go out there like a used car salesman trying to market himself, and get himself, a job in the league. Um, I truly feel that his better option would be to stay. I mean, like you said, we can't deny it. He has taken down Ohio State the last 2 years. His team right now is the team to beat in the Big Ten. And he needs to focus on that and not trying to get himself back to the NFL because he still has a lot of really good talent up there. So,
Yeah, they have a lot of returning talent.
eventually, these disruptions are going to cause an issue in the season.
Well, I think they're causing an issue right now. We're going to get into that. So I said I also
Yeah.
agree that Harbaugh thinks he is an NFL coach, not college, says Brian Oberding. All right, so let's move on to the next portion of this. So Harbaugh goes out, flirts with his second girlfriend, the NFL. She says, "I'm sorry, you're too weird for me now. I've moved on." So he goes back to the alma mater, his other girlfriend here, and when he comes back, Chris, who does he tell he's coming back? He tells the president, Santa Ono, that he's coming back. Santa Ono then releases basically on social media, good news, Jim Harbaugh is returning for the 2023 season. I will inform athletic director
Yeah.
Ward Manuel.
Yeah. On his personal Twitter, he releases this. This it shows, I think, the amount of dysfunction that is going on up in Ann Arbor right now. You have got a coach who doesn't get along with his AD, an AD who I think clearly has some issues with the president of the university as well. Um, it is just a very, I think, it hasn't gotten publicly ugly yet, but I truly believe it will at some point. One or more of these people is going to have to go because you can't continue to run a program like this. You just can't. Uh, I think that right now the push is to get the AD out. I truly believe that. Harbaugh doesn't like him. I think that you've got the university president. You've got a university president there, by the way, who, man, the more I watch this guy, I think he's really in love with himself. He loves to get out there in front of the cameras or on his Twitter account and say something. He's like, terrible comparison, but it's like I almost cringe when I see something come up on this guy's Twitter as much as I did when Trump would put something on Twitter. And I thought it's kind of very similar. It's not necessarily the policies that are wrong, but boy, why don't we just shut up about it? Let somebody else, let the press secretary put it out there. In his case, let the AD put it out there. It's the AD's job. It's, you have basically emasculated the AD in this program between the president and the coach. I mean, if I'm Ward Manuel, I'm not even looking to stay at this point. I'm hoping somebody comes calling because I truly think that Harbaugh and the president of this university have really worked him over in the way things have gone down.
So when you stop and you really think about this for a second, can you imagine at any moment at Ohio State where there was something of this magnitude? Ryan Day goes out, has an interview or two, has some flirtation maybe with the Chiefs. Let's say Andy Reid retires, and the Chiefs call on Ryan Day. And Ryan Day is known to go have an interview. Can you imagine President Johnson announcing to Buckeye Nation and not Gene Smith?
No, absolutely not. But
The fact that Harbaugh went to the president and went over Ward Manuel is a power play.
it is.
It is an absolute power play, and it shows me as just an observer of this the dysfunction between Ward Manuel, the athletic director, and Jim Harbaugh, the coach. I mean, at that, if I'm Ward Manuel, I am so upset right now. And this, I think, is Jim Harbaugh's way of sticking it to Ward about the whole contract thing that had happened.
It absolutely is. It is 100% what this is about. And, like I said, you've got the president of the university, who I think is just as big a part of this as what Harbaugh is. It is a train wreck up there. Why is the president of the university saying, okay, well, you know what? I'm glad you're coming back. Why don't you go ahead, notify the athletic director, notify the athletic department that of your plans to come back, and let them put out a press release saying how happy we are to have you back. It's not the president's job to get out there and praise Harbaugh for coming back, or say how thankful he is that Harbaugh is coming back. That's the job of the athletic director. I cannot, we've had some pretty messed up situations at times here at Ohio State. I'm not going to lie.
Sure, we have.
We've had that. We had
our hands aren't clean.
No, we're not. Our hands are not clean at all. But you know what? I pretty much can remember that at the forefront of all those, Gene, help me out. Gene Smith came out front and center for better or worse, and he was the face of taking charge of what was going on.
Sure.
We didn't have the president of the university coming out during the whole incident with, like you mentioned earlier, Tressel and Terrell Pryor. We didn't have the president of the university coming out when we had the whole thing going on with Urban and
Zach Smith.
Thank you, Zach Smith. We didn't have that. It was Gene Smith who was out there doing his job as athletic director, for better or worse. Like I said, because we all still hold some grudges about the self-imposed sanctions that Smith levied. But you know what? And I think Jason put it best. Michigan puts the fun in dysfunctional. They really do, because that is a mess up there, my friend. It is a mess.
Oh, it only gets better.
Yes, it does.
Let's continue. Okay, this is just the beginning here. So the NCAA, which by the way has zero legs to stand on at this point. I mean, they are
a neutered dog.
They are an amputee trying to kick a 45-yard field goal right now. It ain't happening.
Can we really compare that? I mean, Dempsey did have only half a foot and held the record for a long time.
Well, I'm just saying, these guys have no power at all. And Jim knows that, by the way. So apparently they have a couple level 2 issues that happen, which are, listen, every major college program in the United States has level 2 sanctions and violations.
Absolutely.
They all do, okay? If they don't, they're absolutely not trying to win, okay?
Right.
So I can't fault them for that. Then their level 1 issue comes when Harbaugh refuses
to cooperate
with them. Again,
just say I screwed up, and this all goes away.
And it was because he bought some recruit some hamburgers.
Yeah,
this is stupid.
Yeah,
even us Buckeye fans know this is stupid. But but just and I know he's trying to make a point by saying you're letting these other programs literally poach players from other schools, which is illegal. You're doing nothing about it, and yet you're here busting my balls over me buying a couple hamburgers for some recruits. I ain't even talking to you.
But that's not why they're busting his balls, man. They are getting on him, and the reason he is facing the possible suspensions that he is now is because, let's call it what it is, Eric. He's being dishonest. He's not cooperating. It's not the hamburgers that's going to get this guy in trouble. It is the dishonesty, the deceit, the failure to cooperate. That is what's getting this guy in trouble. Basically, what he is doing is he He's like the guy who gets pulled over for a traffic stop, and you know the cops want to search him, and he resists.
He pulls out his cell phone and starts recording.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. He is, and again, I don't know. Maybe this is just his insatiable desire for attention. Maybe that's what it is. He just has this need to be in the spotlight at all times, and maybe that's what he's after right now. I don't know. But what he's going to do is get himself a suspension. This is going to carry out into the next season before they get an opportunity to suspend him. And he's going to get a suspension, whether it's one game, whether it's 3 games, whatever it's going to be. He's going to catch a suspension for this. And what he needs to worry about now is the fact that because he's carried this on this far, and it's going to carry into the 2023 season now, they're saying, what happens if that suspension gets levied a week before the game? What happens if that suspension gets levied right before the start of bowl season? What happens if
I
that
don't want that
suspension
to
gets leveled?
happen. I want to
I don't either, because I don't want to hear the excuses.
Right.
I don't want that. What happens if that suspension gets levied against Penn State, who we both think is going to be a tremendous talent in the league next year? He's not thinking. He's just not thinking, because and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. He is going to make a mistake that is going to cost his team on the field, and what's going to happen at that point is he is going to lose that team.
And this feeds into what Larry's question is here. Is it possible Harbaugh is a coaching savant and just has poor ego and communication skills?
Well, yeah, he's got terrible ego and communication skills, but you know what? He's an idiot. That's his biggest problem, is he's an idiot. Because you know what? He is, and Eric, I've questioned it in the past. The guy, if you look at the track record, the guy can coach.
Mm-hmm.
He can coach. It's just all the other stuff that comes with him, all that other baggage that comes with him, is what makes him, I think, a detriment to a program.
And I'm going to make a comparison here that a lot of people aren't going to like, but he's kind of like Urban Meyer. He wears his welcome out after about 5 to 6 years because he wears on you.
Yeah.
Because he leans on you. He leans on the program. He doesn't, he's not, his personality as a person and a human being, as much as he maybe wants to be straight and narrow and walk the straight line, he's just weird. Urban's was, he'd always make a mistake here or there and then have a health issue.
So what you're saying is Harbaugh he stays somewhere for a little while and then just kicks somebody in the groin, and his next thing you know, he's out on the street.
Not physically,
right?
But emotionally.
Emotionally, yes.
I mean, I can't tell you the stories that you've heard about the 49ers front office talking about.
Oh yeah,
how they couldn't get. I just feel like, after a while, he wears on people, and he needs to get out and go. And I think he's at that spot possibly up in Michigan, but it's like an infomercial. Oh, there's more.
Well, I'll tell you what, Eric, you got to check out this message that Matthew just sent too.
Okay, let's post that up there. Let's see what that says before we get into Matt Wise here. Is that team up north problem the same as the Cowboys when they kept Jason Garrett for too long? Not enough for the long-time football and go to the next level. Hope that makes sense. What do you think, Chris? Do you read into that a little bit?
I could see that. I think that because Garrett at times had a little bit of success, he had a couple years of decent success, so that mirrors what he's saying here a little bit. But the fact is, and it's what we talked about earlier, he's a real good runner-up. He's really good at being almost good enough to win. And he has, like we say, he has beaten us a couple of years, so we can't take that away from him.
That's what I started this segment out with. I gave you guys credit for that, but now I'm going to bring some receipts here.
Yeah.
So your former offensive coordinator has been fired by your athletic department with very little details as to why.
I want to know exactly what these violations were of the I forget exactly how they worded it, the computer crime.
So
But
it is, and he's being investigated for computer
computer.
access crimes.
So was
I
he
have
hack? He's hacking something. That's what computer
that
access
is
crimes are. He's
yes,
hacking
that
something.
usually this is the title given to somebody who accesses information via the computer, internet, etc., illegally without the consent of who they're getting this information
Yes.
from. And basically, the fancy term for that is hacking. He was
But
a
what
hacker.
information was he accessing? That's what I want to know. It
So
has to be
the
something very serious for it to be a criminal investigation.
yes. So and here's the other part of this is we don't know the correlation yet between that and the NCAA investigations.
Correct.
We don't know that correlation yet. I've seen people putting it out there on social media that it was child pornography. I do not believe that's the case, because if that was the case, I think you would see some um, other information coming. I also think you would have seen him being arrested.
One, I don't think Harbaugh would keep his mouth shut about something like that. I don't even think Harbaugh's that stupid. And
So
I don't think he'd get out of his own way long enough to keep
yeah.
his
So
mouth shut
though
about it.
you can, I don't think that those rumors are correct. I don't think it's fair to Weiss and his family, because if that's
Right.
not the case, man, that you to put that kind of allegation on
Yeah. You
somebody,
put that
that's
rumor
not
to
cool.
bed.
Yeah. So I don't think that's it. But what I do think it is he has accessed, and again, this is just a rumor, but the athletic or the academic standard at the University of Michigan is, shall we say,
Uh,
higher than most.
yeah, Monk just threw it up there. Exactly what I think where you're going.
Grade tampering. I didn't say it. Jason did. We don't know if that is the case, but that is one of the rumors that I'm seeing a lot of, is that he was trying to change some grades. And if that's the case, this is something that the NCAA has dealt with before. North Carolina, anybody?
Yeah.
What happened to the Tar Heels? Nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. But here's what I'm going to get at in closing. And again, we want to thank all of you who jump on and watch the live show with us tonight. It bothers me, Chris, that the fans in the rivalry from our rival, Sean and all his buddies, right? Talk about how they are better than us academically, athletically, and as people. And when you say, man, why do you say that? It's because we are. That's literally the mindset that this entire program has, which bugs me the most about anything. I can take up the trash talking, the jiving, the poking, but one of the things that upsets me is just their egotistical nature. We're better than you. You guys are a bunch of criminals, blah, 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 blah. And then when this stuff happens to you and your program, where you at?
You're hiding under a rock.
Making
This is
excuses.
where they'll throw the athletic director out there and let him get butchered.
Exactly. If you don't think Ward Manuel is basically going to be fired over this, you're crazy. He is going to be the one. And Jim's back here going, I didn't know about any of this. It's your program.
Yeah. This is let's call it what it is, Eric. This is where Jim Tressel fell on the sword. And you're going to see Jim Harbaugh hiding under the bleachers and pushing his AD out there.
If you, as a program, as a fan base, I'm talking to you, Michigan fans, if you are who you claim you are, then you should want Jim Harbaugh fired for this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you are sitting there like a bunch of, oh boy, this is a terrible analogy, but a battered wife taking the abusive husband back. That's what you're doing.
Especially given the Zach Smith incident, probably not the best.
I'm right here, man. I'm just saying, this is
Yeah.
what you're doing.
No.
So you don't get to point your finger down at Buckeye Nation and Buckeye fans and say, we're better than you. Look what you guys did. You guys had Urban Meyer, that incident, and all these other little things you like to point at when you yourself are doing the exact same things. You don't get to call yourself better than
You
us.
just hadn't been caught yet. Let's call
Like
it what
I
it is.
said,
Yeah.
all of our hands are dirty in this thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
You're not special. You're not. You're not better than us. You know, and that whole thing with Sparty this year, I still believe you incited most of that every stinking time with Ohio State, and it was Illinois,
Yes.
and it was Penn State, and it was Sparty. What's the common thread through all of that? Your arrogance.
Yes.
You own it.
The
Own it.
failure of Jim Harbaugh in this case to control his program and his players. That's simple.
All right, guys, that's our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed us hating on that team up north just as much as you enjoyed us talking about the Ohio State quarterback situation and some of those quarterbacks that we would like to have seen under the Ryan Day offense.